It's my pleasure to welcome everybody to this webinar and of membership during COVID-19. We have three great speakers lined up, each with a specific topic to present on. The three speakers and I will then be available to answer questions you submit through the Q&A link during the webinar at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Our first speaker tonight is our own District 9820's Membership Chair, David Hanlon. And David will be discussing engaging and supporting members during lockdown. Our second speaker will be Barbara Mifsud, Regional Membership Officer attached to the South Pacific and Philippines office in Parramatta. And Barbara will be discussing how to deliver service projects in lockdown. And finally, we will hear again from our own past District Governor, Tim Moore. Tim is currently one of our Rotary Regional Coordinators, and he will discuss with us tonight the planning of the way out of lockdown. So a very warm welcome to each one of our speakers. I would now like to invite David Hanlon to commence his presentation.
Okay. So going back, I'm going to be talking tonight about why it's important to remain connected with our members. And the reason is that traditionally Rotary has been connected to the world through its service and fellowship. But with the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown, day-to-day life as we know it has changed, including the way in which Rotarians can interact with one another. But it is important during this period of isolation that we continue to be socially connected with one another and use this time to plan our service and think of ways in which in lockdown that we can help our communities. And therefore, at the end of the lockdown period, hopefully we'll come out of the crisis with some plans that we can implement, fairly straightforward plans that can be implemented again. To our presidents, it's a very important time for you to be across the general welfare of your members, how they're coping not only with the technology, but the mental aspect of isolation, coupled with the worries of the economy and the impact on their financial position. Individual members will be impacted differently, and as presidents you need to assure them that they have the support not only of the club but the wider Rotary organisation. Look to provide support to those who have lost jobs or businesses during this lockdown period. And can I ask you to identify members that could be at risk because of these factors and report those through to your assistant governors, who in turn will let the district governor know, so that we can try and work on some strategies to make sure that we retain those members. How can we stay connected during this period? There's a number of highly interactive tools that we can use. We're using Zoom in many clubs. There's GoToMeeting, there's Google Hangouts, and there's Skype that you can use. You can also use social media platforms such as Facebook, Facebook Messenger, FaceTime, and WhatsApp to connect with your members. And then of course, there's the old technology of the phone tree to make sure that you're in touch with your members during the period. And can I suggest to you that as we're starting to have some of the restrictions eased, that you think about maybe meeting in pods of 5 to 10, whatever is allowed when we hear from Dan, and Zoom into the other groups, including the speaker. Just provides that bit of social interaction if we can do that. During this period, it's important to educate our members. So the technology is not difficult, but it's one of confidence. just work with your individual members, maybe use one-on-one sessions, practice sessions with them so that they get comfortable with the technology. Try and keep your meetings short and interesting. Have interesting speakers. Maybe even take the opportunity to invite speakers that to join you on Zoom that you would normally not have because of their locations. But more importantly, make sure that it's a fun session. You know, it's an opportunity for you to look at the meeting format and make it as vibrant as you can, which is particularly important when you're in an online environment. There is, after the webinar tonight, we will be emailing out to the participants some of the links. And one link that I've got here is the Rotary resource on how to take your club online, and some of the reference material around club meetings and what works online and what doesn't, basically. Before I wind up, I would like to draw the presidents to the attention of a piece of correspondence from RI President Mark Daniel Maloney, where he's seeking the clubs to complete a survey. So this is important for RI to get information about what's happening in various parts of the world. So I encourage people to complete that survey if they can. Now it's my pleasure to hand over to Barbara to do the next segment. Barbara.
Thank you. Thanks so much, David. And thanks again for the invitation to come to speak to you tonight. And as David's just emphasised, making sure that our members are engaged at this point in time is really paramount, especially to having a strong and healthy membership. And the second area that we do need to focus on is service. And tonight I wanted to chat about why it's important at this time, how you can go about doing it, what are some of the projects that clubs have been doing during this time, and also to point you to so just for the next slide. So why? And there really is two reasons why. And firstly, service is one of Rotary International's core values. We are people of action. That's who we are and what we do. And one of the priorities of the new Rotary International strategic plan is increase our impact. And effective service projects equals impact. Next slide, please. And secondly, member engagement and service are inextricably linked. We know from the research that service is one of the main reasons why we join Rotary, and it's also one of the main reasons why we stay in Rotary. So service is not only good for our communities at these changing times, but it's also good for attraction and retention. Next slide, please. So how are we going to do it? Isolation and social distancing really has had significant impact on delivering our service projects and also our fundraising activities. And we know Bunnings barbecues and markets, book fairs, cycle events, environmental projects, op shops, all of those things have been impacted. Many clubs do want to give back, but they're wondering how to go about doing it at this time. And I just wanted to give you six tips to get you started thinking about projects. So tip one is to take stock of your current projects and your activities. So have a look objectively and ask, what is it that we can continue on as is? And you're probably already a bit aware of that, and simply what is not possible in these circumstances. But also think about, are there projects or activities which you can reimagine? So doing it in a different way, or perhaps transitioning it online, and keeping in mind that, you know, our regulations are easing as well. So our second tip is to organise a club visioning or a brainstorming session and getting the input of all of your members. You might even like to survey your members. And keep in mind your club's previous strategic priorities, and that will help you align your efforts. So for example, if you as a club, one of your strategic priorities is food security, you might be looking at partnering with the local food bank during COVID. And strategic planning in general really helps you focus your efforts and ensure that you have that maximum impact. Third tip would be to take an inventory of your members' professional and their personal skills and their interests and their connections. I mean, this is a really valuable resource. So explore if there are ways that these skills and connections can help you make a difference. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. The fourth tip would be to consider conducting a mini community needs assessment. So it doesn't have to be elaborate or overcomplicated. You could choose to do one of a number of things, like chatting to a particular group of people to see how you can assist. And I've heard of one club that was chatting to recently arrived migrants who said that because of the closure of the Migrant Resource Centre, they weren't able to access the internet. So that gave them an idea for a project. And let who you speak to guide you as to a survey to the community to see if there are other ways that you can help. And it could be organising a meeting with the various stakeholders to see what issues are presenting. And the fifth tip would be to explore partnerships. So talk to other not-for-profits, community groups or councils, businesses, hospitals, aged care facilities, and see what it is that those organisations are doing well and if there are any gaps. And, you know, it may also lead to further collaborations and longer-term relationships. And I recently heard two separate stories where clubs had actually contacted their local aged care facility, and even though they had said that they didn't need immediate assistance, they asked one club if they could help with the commission of an Aboriginal painting to go in sensory garden. So my sixth and final tip really would to be looking at collaborating with other nearby clubs, because you may be able to pool your resources and also to increase your impact that way. And the great thing is the more service work that we do in the community, the greater visibility that you as a club and Rotary in general will have in the community. And that also gives you better opportunities for you to connect with prospective members and also to keep the current members engaged as well. Next slide, please. So what can you do? We have seen a whole range of innovative service projects that have been developed during isolation, from very simple things through to the more complex. And I'd just like to go through some of that. So if we could have the next, thank you. So the Rotary Club of Kurri Kurri in District 9670, they have cooked and donated over 1,200 meals for those, and that was in conjunction with their local community centre. And the Rotary Satellite Club of Ariwa Millwater in New Zealand in District 9910, they have a very successful project of delivering shopping and picking up medicines for the elderly and the vulnerable. non-Rotarians doing, and the club plans really to like clubs. And I know that the Red Mount Martha in your district was selling those. Great story. We've seen clubs donating tablets and laptops to nursing homes, and the Adelaide University Rotary Club, they were giving online cooking lessons to international students and featuring a different cuisine every session. And you might have seen some of our presenters in our latest webinar as well for projects that clubs could do while working in isolation. But we've also seen, I've seen a club in Canberra that have been buying coffees from a local coffee shop for frontline nurses. So basically, you know, killing two birds with one stone. And we've also seen clubs awarding PHFs to recognise essential workers. And another great example was two clubs in Victoria that normally run an art show at a local art gallery. As a fundraiser, they ran an online art show, and they received more online visits than they would have in the 5 years that they have been running the fundraiser face-to-face. The other thing that some clubs have been doing is applying for a grant from the Rotary Foundation's Disaster Response Fund. Or if you aren't up to applying for a grant, you could consider fundraising for the fund itself. And already $4.7 million US have been awarded through those grants for COVID-related activities. And so that's things like supplying ventilators or PPE, sanitizers and testing kits. And that's all around the world. Next slide, please. So I hope that's given you some food for thought. And I will leave you with 3 RI publications that might help. First one is the community assessment tools. And that goes through different ways of conducting community needs analysis. The second is a strategic planning guide. And the third is representing your community's profession, which is a worksheet that's part of the membership assessment tools booklet. And all 3 of them are available for download at My Rotary. So now I will hand over to Tim, who's going to talk about planning the way out of lockdown.
Thank you, Barbara. Hello, everyone. I'm glad you've all made the effort to, after having a nice tea and maybe a wine, to come and listen to us. That's not a self-portrait, certainly not a recent one anyway. But I would like to talk tonight about planning your way out of lockdown, out of this isolation that we've all been having for the last, well, I guess 7 weeks almost now. And I'd like you to think of what Winston Churchill said: no crisis should go to waste. And then, of course, came COVID-19, and what a surefire disruptor that was for us all. I'd like just to reflect on our Rotary International President-elect, Holger Knack. He's challenged us all to be disruptors, not quite through the virus though, and influencers this year coming up in Rotary. And what a great opportunity we have before us. It's not without its challenges though, is it? So are we going to take up those challenges, or are we going to do what we've always done? So we don't want to waste a crisis, do we? So what I'd like to talk about tonight a bit is what works as we look at our club coming out of this post-virus situation that we've all got. And one thing I know that does work is the collaborative decision-making. So why not ask your members about what they would like to do coming out of this? Do they want to do the same things they've always done? Or do you want to have a look at some of the things that can be done and have worked over this last 7 weeks? Now, I hear you say, well, we've got a board to decide all that. Now, nothing against boards, but I think they're there because of the members. They're elected by the members. Why not ask the members about what they think they would like? And that, of course, you're going to get great traction with it, because unless you involve all the members, you're not going to have success. Now, whether it be a visioning process that you have, and I know many of our clubs in our district have been through visioning, but it can be a lot simpler than that. You can just have a less formal agreement, a meeting where you perhaps over a couple of meetings, look at 3 main questions. You can use SurveyMonkey for this. It's free and it's easy to set up. One of those questions is, what don't you like about your club at the moment, or the things it's doing? What is good and should be retained in the club? And what can we add to our club to make it more attractive? 3 essential questions. And after 7 weeks, who knows how long your club will still be forced to be locked down from now. But you'll need you've had, I should say, a very considerable cultural shift already forced upon you. Who would have thought of having all your meetings online, as you do now, as many clubs do? How do we attract, retain, and engage members during this difficult time? Barbara's talked about some projects which are really important, and David's talked about some of the elements. We know there's clubs, and I was just talking to past District Governor Jan Spears tonight. They've got 7 potential members in the wings, and most of them all happened in the last few weeks. So there's many clubs that are inducting members online, and there's many clubs that are working out ways of keeping in touch and doing an excellent job of it. I'd like you to follow best practice. You might have heard of what's called the Rotary Club of Yes model of looking after members, right from the word from when you meet them, bring them into your club, induct them and mentor them. It's a fantastic program. I'm very happy to send you that. It's actually online now, and I can let you know too. And it's a great time to mentor your members. You know, come up with a program to perhaps train them. But anything you do is better than doing nothing. Or worse on, is still doing the same as you've always done, because we know many of our clubs, and I have to say most of our clubs, are having great difficulties by doing the same things they've always done. So, now back to COVID-19. You've changed already. I'm sure you all realise that you have. You've made these significant changes, and it hasn't really hurt that much, has it? In fact, in some cases, it's saved us money. So let's have a look at some of the ideas, some of my thoughts that we could move through here. Firstly, have an online strategic meeting, like I've just been talked about. Ask those 3 questions. What's good about our club? What needs to go? What can we add in? Next, we know, and I've done this, I guess it's anecdotally, because I can't be absolutely sure, but over 80% of our club meetings in Australia and New Zealand, of our clubs, are meeting remotely during this difficult time. And most are acknowledging they actually have a greater attendance. How great's that? And we also know that almost 100% of our club boards and district committees are meeting online. So, clubs are varying how often they meet. Some are going to move to fortnightly meetings. Some are replacing a meeting with a social occasion or online. And I've even, as much as I hate trivial pursuit type questions, I really enjoyed my own club, Berwick, the other night. For our birthday, we broke into meeting rooms in Zoom and had trivial questions about Rotary, which weren't trivial, they were great questions actually. But we also had some about old, dare I say, rock bands, which Adrian Foggett would do very well at. So please, take these opportunities to have a bit of fun. I must admit they left us a bit long in the meeting room though, and we all used our phones on Google. So that's a word of everything. But live stream good speakers. Get someone who you'd normally get to talk to you, or maybe someone even better that doesn't have to make all the way to your club meeting and can actually live stream for 10 minutes at a meeting. And ask the public to come online and perhaps look at some of the things you're doing. And I can say that our district, as many other districts are doing, and Rotary Down Under now, have a club resource centre where you can download perhaps other people's meetings or, clips they've had from guest speakers, conference speakers. I know where Barbara and of course Rotary International themselves in Parramatta also have a number of Rotary topics they're doing as well. But don't be afraid to have a look at many different topics. It doesn't have to all be about Rotary, of course. It can be fun. It can be investigating another project, another community assessment or something as Barbara's mentioned. And don't forget those who can't travel. They're not feeling well, or of course, eventually, hopefully, when the caravanners are allowed to go, go up north for extended time. Now think about how you can use online meetings, or at least an online presentation that they can participate in while they're away, to keep them in touch. It also, of course, keeps members' costs down, doesn't it? I mean, I don't think any of us have saved so much money for a long time, and thank goodness with these difficult times, as these times now when we of course, don't have to pay that meal cost, that sergeant's fee, buying those raffle tickets. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. And remember too, that the government has warned that anyone over 65 with a respiratory problem or over 70, and let's be honest, in many of our clubs in our district, that's 30 to 40% of their membership, won't be allowed or is recommended not to travel. So they won't be coming to your meetings, even if they wanted to come to face-to-face meetings. So please keep an eye on those people and give them the opportunity to still connect. You may choose to have maybe every third meeting or every second meeting is online meeting. Maybe you might have a combined board meeting that everyone can come online with. Maybe you have social. And please, yes, do go back to your venue as best as you can, and just hopefully they're going to be around. But most importantly, please keep a check in on our at-risk members, because as we come back in this, people are going to be perhaps deciding, especially the 30th of June, has our club or your club given the engage and given them value to be a Rotarian during this time. And what a great, some of those ideas that Barbara had, that we know clubs are doing, they're thinking magnificently outside the square. We don't need to go into that same old square, do we? So there's some ideas. It's not easy to do. We know we miss our face-to-face contact, and I guess there's no way of substituting that in real life, is there, without face-to-face? But we've still got projects to do when things improve. We've still got lots of things we're doing. And I've just been told that Tim Costello is a guest speaker at Rotary Peninsula 2.0 this week. So why don't you look up them on Facebook or email them, or maybe we can find out how to get a link, and go and enjoy that. What a great speaker for your club to do. There's lots of these webinars being recorded too. Good ideas that you have. We've got one coming up, actually, I should give a plug for, with Barbara and myself and Adrian Roach, the other Rotary coordinator for membership, where we're actually going to share tips for how recognition. And we're also going to have a bit of a look about what Rotary's planning to do with their virtual online convention late June. So there's some ideas coming up. Keep your eyes out. Now, we need people to step up though. And while we do this, I think the most important thing is that we need leaders in our club, which are most likely the presidents or president-elects, but we also need people in our club to say, hey, we're happy to adopt some of these changes. We're happy to be different. Let's do things differently. Let's take up these flexibility options that we know that new clubs, like passport clubs, like e-clubs, all those sort of things, they're doing this right now. They're already using these flexibility options. New clubs have got an enormous amount of growth in districts around Australia. We need, if you can't, obviously we don't need to have a new club if we do it ourselves. So please take this advice. Please give it a try. Don't be frightened to fail. There's no one going to say, well, that was a bad idea and get rid of you. They're going to say, thank you for trying, I'm sure. And Barbara's alluded to some of the resources that we have. We've got the Rotary Club Health Check, the Community Assessment Brochure, preparing a club membership plan. All those things are available. Myself, Barbara, and of course your district membership chair, which is David Hanlon, moment, of course, and of course all your Rotary team that you've got in leadership, your assistant governors and all that, to help you think about how you can take some of these ideas up and move back post-virus to a really active, vibrant, engaging club. And I wish you all the best. And I guess I'll pass back to David now. Do I, David? For question and answers.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Barbara. If anyone's got questions, they can post them by the Q&A button, which is in about the middle of your screen there. and Jane is going to read those out as we go through. So, Jane, have we got anyone that we can?
Hi all, I actually have one question, and that's who is coming in as membership chair for District 9820 in the 2020-21 year, and that would be past President Christine Williams of the Rotary Club of Mount Martha. So thank you, Di Harrison, for that question. There's your answer. Are there any more questions? There we are.
I guess I just wanted to make a plug, if I could, and Kim had just mentioned that we had, or I mentioned it too, that we, Tim and Adrian Rochu is the other Rotary coordinator, have did a webinar about projects that clubs can do during isolation, and there are 5 panelists on that webinar, and they talk about their projects. So that the recording is available. So I really encourage you to have a bit of a look at that to get some inspiration from those great projects. I mean, they were really good, weren't they, Tim?
Oh, they were excellent. And in fact, I today just recorded Jasmine, who the Rotary Club of South Bank, making masks, sewing masks, not necessarily medical quality, but they certainly cross a few of the the benefits of using scarves, particularly for homeless people. And that will be available once again up on our website. And which is District 9820's website, and will be available on YouTube if you want. And what we'll do, and I'm sure David wouldn't mind doing this, is we'll send everyone some of these links and some of these things we've talked about. Of course, we're recording tonight as well.
Jane, is there any further questions there?
David, we don't really seem to have any other questions, so maybe everyone's fairly satisfied.
I think there is one question there.
We have a question from Jennifer North, and she'd like to know, should new members be inducted online or wait until we get to the other side?
Well, I'll pick that one up. We definitely should try to induct them now.
Sorry, David, something's under your sound again.
I could hear David okay.
Okay. All right, I'll start again. I believe that we should be inducting them now. Hopefully the club is planning service projects, and certainly we should be happy to listen to any ideas that they want to put on the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we've also seen some really innovative and interesting ways of inducting, the members actually online as well. And that actually can be really fun. And other ways also to get, the new inductees, family and friends involved as well, by, conducting an online induction ceremony. So I would agree with David. I think it's a really great opportunity to induct a new member.
Yes, I have to agree with what Barbara said there and David said there. It's a great opportunity. We should do it online. And, there's a number of things coming up, and included in this will be some information circulated shortly with regard to changeovers. We may need to do things online for now and keep things moving, but there's nothing to say we can't formalise it and do it in a more grand manner once we can meet again. So, but let's keep things moving. Let's not, we can't afford to stop Rotary at this point in time. Too many opportunities.
Jane, is there further questions there?
Yes. David, I've got a question from Rosemary Alacart. Could District do a presentation on how to run an online changeover event, which I think Adrian just alluded to?
Yes.
And there will be some media coming out about that in the not too distant future. And there is a suggestion here from Tim Wills at the Rotary Club of Druin, and he's talking about how Druin has brought together 2 other Rotary clubs and 7 Lions clubs to buy warm clothes from op shops that are now closed and giving them to food relief centres. Just need to check what they want for their clients first. So there's another online project that people can do in this time of COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say too that there's some amazing things that clubs are doing, but we will be having, when I say we, this is the Rotary coordinators, and it's available for everyone, and we'll send you the link in a couple of weeks, a webinar on virtual changeovers, PHFs, and of course the Rotary Convention, as I mentioned before. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of great ideas. We're gathering them from all around our zone.
So, Tim, can I ask that you send that through so that we can put that on not only on the district Facebook, but also it can go into chainmail?
Yes, please.
I also just make a comment just about Tim's comment, Tim Will's comment. I just wanted to say that Rotary International has also put out an official statement, a combined statement with the Lions, Kiwanis, Optimists as well. So I think we are all making a concerted effort as service organisations to work together and that, and to really to increase our impact in that way.
Just probably goes without saying, I'm not sure if people realise that Toastmasters now are partnering with Rotary worldwide, and many of our clubs have Toastmasters in their areas, and you want them for a bit of a presentation one time too.
Yep. And if I can just add, in response to Rosemary's question and Graham Sprague's question, yes, we do have some information specifically on changeovers under COVID-19. Just finalising the documentation now, which will be circulated within the next few days, in actual fact. And we are suggesting, obviously, that it be online, but we've got a few ideas there of how it can be done online and made meaningful. And of course, myself and DGE Mark and DGN Bill will be open to opportunities to join you online as well. So there's been a bit of a shortage of invites this year so far, but could that be because we don't think we're having the physical meetings? Don't let that stop you. We can always have a fabulous dinner or something subsequently when we can, but let's plan something online for now.
Jane, is there some more questions there?
Libby Wilson from Rosebud Rye has asked, she has had trouble maintaining connection, David. Will RLI go ahead as a Zoom program or postpone until we can meet in person?
Sorry, that was RLI, was it? Sorry, Jane, I didn't get the full question.
Libby Wilson has asked, will RLI go ahead as a Zoom program or will it be postponed until we can meet again in person?
Question to that is, we are looking at seeing if we can't do something online, but that means...
David, we're not hearing you again.
Oh, okay.
I'm hearing him. Okay.
We are investigating whether or not we can offer the course online. That would mean that we need to rewrite a fair amount. We've been doing a bit of research to see where other districts may be, including overseas. So it's still a work in progress there. And who knows, they may, if Dan releases some of the restrictions, we might be able to have smaller groups that we can do face-to-face. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yep.
There's nothing more that's come in from Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear that one.
I was going to say, you go, Jane, but at this stage you're breaking up quite badly on what I'm hearing at this point. But I think it's important to, with as far as RLI is certainly the objective the district has is to make an online version available. But there is a significant amount of work and not a lot of progress been made by the other districts. So collaboratively, we're looking at working with some of the other Australian districts to move ahead with an online version of RLI. So perhaps that answers that question. Regards to some of the other things that are going on, you know, I think the clubs are doing great stuff at the moment, and over time we will share a lot more of what clubs are doing, I'm sure, across everybody, so everybody can learn from the learnings of everybody else, I guess.
Okay. Jane, any further questions there?
No, David, great commentary. And many people congratulating you and the team on a terrific job tonight and how much they've enjoyed this session. So thank you.
Okay. Before we close that, the question and answer, I'd just like to say that if anyone has any questions, please feel free to contact myself. And if I haven't got the answer, I'll certainly find it for you. And the other thing is, I encourage everyone to work collaboratively with your club. So if you're doing particularly well in a particular area, whether it be online meetings or attracting guest speakers, please share that with your cluster clubs because they mightn't be travelling quite as effectively as you. And with that, I'd now like to invite Adrian to wrap up the session.
All right, thank you, David. I'm surprised one of the questions that didn't come up related to Rotary costs. And given that some people may be negatively affected by what's happened during COVID-19, retirees will affect, impacts on their income from share dividends and that kind of thing. I'm surprised that one didn't come up. But I will say that District Governor Mark, who is listening in quietly and behind here, has a budget that he is putting up to the President-elect on Sunday morning. And we're looking to slash, or Mark is looking to slash a number of the costs within district to make it a bit easier. There's going to be opportunities there to spread payments. So instead of the 2 6-monthly payments, it will be able to be spread monthly or quarterly or whatever. There's going to be opportunities there as well. There are some things coming forward from this year. For instance, the district conference levy, which obviously we didn't get to use this year, has been carried forward, which means Mark's been able to drop that out of his budget as well. So there's lots going on. There's some increases and nasty things coming up in terms of insurance. That's concerning, but however, I did want to take this opportunity for those who are listening in at this stage. Really important, some clubs, I believe, are still paying their full insurance amount out of their member dues, but in actual fact, there is every justification for paying all, if not most, of your insurance costs out of your projects account, given that it's your project activities that are essentially being covered by the Rotary insurance. So do bear that in mind for the clubs. We are concerned at district. We don't want to see people in trouble. We don't want to be losing members because they've been financially impacted. So we will be doing everything at district that we can to make it sustainable, and those members who have been impacted will be able to continue. Okay, so I've answered a question that wasn't asked, but I thought it was important to cover that. So to get into the wrap-up that I was supposed to be doing. While the COVID-19 pandemic has seen us cancel and postponed, a lot of in-person meetings and events, I'd like to acknowledge that it hasn't really kept us down, and this is important. We have found and continue to find ways to keep our fellowship alive. We have reimagined and continue to reimagine our service efforts in response. In Rotary, our strength is our members. So to me, it makes perfect sense to me that we should first protect and support our members, and that is our priority. By doing this, we preserve our capacity and capability, so we will be able to help our global and local communities heal and thrive through and post COVID-19. We responded early here in District 9820 to the pandemic. We cancelled our conference, and that caused a good deal of pain, as I'm sure you imagine. We circulated guides to clubs on COVID-19. We put together a webinar with Federal Health Minister Greg Hunt, and we made that available to all Australian Rotarians. We've prepared this webinar tonight to help you look after and engage your members. So we hope that we have been of assistance in this area. Many clubs have embraced online meetings. There are many exceptional examples of creativity and adaptation to be seen in this space. Now, in a danger in doing this, but I'd like to single out some clubs here, but they're by no means unique. There are others doing great things, but Frankston and Frankston North are both standouts in their online meetings, agendas, and their member participations. It really is quite extraordinary. But they're by no means alone. And I think President Gail Headley-Traer of Rosebud Rye captured our advances into online meetings when she said in their recent bulletin, meeting via Zoom has widened our catchment for speakers as they join us from all over Victoria, and last week even South Africa. As our Zoom skill level has increased, we have learned meeting etiquette, how to mute and unmute, how to share videos and documents, and enjoyed the delight of seeing each other's faces again. And that last sentence is really important. My congratulations tonight to David Hanlon, our 9820 membership chair, for conceiving and planning this webinar. To David, Barbara and Tim, thank you very much for your thoughtful presentations and your input this evening. To District Secretary Jane, thank you for managing the questions for the speakers. And to all of you viewing this webinar, we hope you have enjoyed the format, and we look forward to welcoming you to our next production. All the best from me, and stay safe, everybody. Good night.